morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, November 3rd, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. Last night, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. They beat the Cleveland Indians. For the first time in over 100 years, the Chicago Cubs have won the World Series. Britain's High Court brought government plans for leaving the European Union screeching to a halt earlier today, ruling that Prime Minister May cannot trigger the UK's exit from the EU without approval from Parliament. The government immediately said it would go to the Supreme Court to challenge the ruling. The pound, which has lost about 20% of its value since the Brexit vote, shot up immediately, about 1.1%. British voters voted back in June 52 to 48% to leave the EU. Prime Minister May has said that she will launch exit negotiations beginning in March, which will trigger Article 50, which will mean a 2-year period of negotiation after which Britain is out. The 3 senior judges ruled that the government does not have the power under the current Crown's prerogative rules to trigger the official exit process before asking for parliamentary approval. Many in the financial markets hope that the judgment will delay the British exit process or diminish the government's ability to push through a so-called hard Brexit, which would see Britain leaving the European single market. The hope is that the Parliament members would not give their backing if the government intends to push for that sort of deal. Swiss Re, the world's second largest reinsurer, has reported third quarter net income of about $1.18 billion, down about 16% year on year. However, the reinsurer's result was 22% ahead of consensus. Analysts had modeled for weaker headline underwriting performance and were also surprised by realized investment gains. The property and casualty combined ratio at Swiss Re was about 10 percentage points weaker than before and came in at just about 88%. P&C gross written premiums were up 11% year on year to $4.16 billion. It was driven by large and tailored transactions in the U.S. and Europe. So Swiss Re is sticking to their disciplined underwriting and only taking the best of the best risks. At least 20 people have been killed and dozens more injured after 2 express trains carrying hundreds of passengers collided in the southern port city of Pakistan in Karachi. The accident occurred when the Zakria Express from Multan collided with the Farid Express from Lahore, as the Farid Express waited in a suburban station in Karachi. Government officials say there could be up to 1,000 passengers in total on both trains. Heavy equipment has been brought in to try to right the cars and search for any survivors. In Indonesia now, a ocean search is underway, continued now for the second days, as 300 rescue personnel are looking for about 45 migrant workers who apparently are still missing after a boat hit a reef yesterday. Some 98 migrant workers were on board the ship. Some 50 have been rescued. The fate of those still missing is presumed to be not positive. Meanwhile, off the coast of Libya, 239 migrants are believed to have been drowned in 2 shipwrecks that occurred today. More than 4,200 migrants have died so far, making the dangerous journey across the Mediterranean just this year alone. A United Nations review of national plans that it has received to cut carbon says that the plans submitted by the countries are well short of the levels needed to keep the rise of global temperatures under 2 degrees centigrade. The report finds that by the year 2030, the amount of carbon dioxide entering the atmosphere will be about 25% higher than what the Paris Treaty calls for. Many scientists are now saying that technology to remove carbon from the air will be needed to meet the Paris targets, not simply reducing the level of emissions. The UN Emissions Gap Report, prepared by the UN, finds that by the year 2030, global emissions are expected to reach about 56 gigatons of carbon dioxide. A gigaton is roughly the equivalent of the annual emissions produced by all forms of transport in the European Union. According to the UN, we are moving in the right direction. The Paris Agreement will slow climate change. However, it is still not good enough if we are to stand a chance at avoiding serious climate change. Here's an interesting story from Tehran. This is a country that supposedly is seeking better relations with the West, the United States in particular. but thousands of Iranians have burned the American flag and chanted "Death to America" slogans as they mark the anniversary of the seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran 37 years ago. Iranians at the rally outside the former embassy building on Thursday burned American and Israeli flags, chanting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel." The two countries have had no diplomatic relations since 1979. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.